Are we going to have some fun right now? This is Kevin Locke, a longtime friend of mine, and a scenic designer, the scenic designer actually, for Good Morning America. And we're going to be talking about today, what you're going to be showing us are decorative
faux finishes.
Faux finishes.
Faux finishes. Finishes that we've used in television and theater and have been discovered, and a lot of people are using in their homes.
So you're going to show us three today.
Three.
Starting with sponging.
Sponging.
Now we're going to use this. We're going to use paint. This is just water-based paint, latex paint.
This is all latex house paint. For sponging, I like flat paint, which this is all flat. And one of the things that I think, if you're a first-time sponger, ensures success.
I've been a sponger all my life.
Well, there you go. But if you're a first-time sponger, you want to use colors that are in the same color family. See, these are all greens. The middle tone is the one that we base the wall with. You're not going to take the sponge and dip it in the paint. Then you've got a mess in your hands. What I like to do is take the paint, get any old piece of board, pour it on. We want to smooth that out.
With a 4-inch brush there.
Any old big brush will do. We're going to take our sponge, and then we're going to dip it in here and see what this does is it puts the paint just on the bristles. Now, before you put it on the wall, you might want to have another piece of board here where you just maybe clean it off a little bit, rehearse, get a sense of what's going on. I like to work diagonally, and you just start putting her on the wall. Okay, you see what I'm doing here is I'm
dancing. I see what you're doing.
I'm rotating the sponge so I don't get a dot, dot, dot pattern. It looks a little different every time I change it. Sometimes I move around so that you can't see how the paint traveled across the wall.
So you don't necessarily start at one side and move over. You intentionally
Correct.
bounce
I move around, but I'm always working around this wet edge. Now the next thing we want to do is the light color. Where I see dark areas, I'm going to go in there a little harder. Where I see light areas, I'm going to go in a little softer. I'm going to move a little more quickly and gently around on the wall.
So you like what you're coming up with here?
Yeah, I think we got a pretty good look. This area is done, very successful. It's got some interest. You can see the difference between this finished area and down here where it's less smooth. We haven't done this color over top. I think this would be a good look on your wall.
Yeah. What about when you're going up into corners, you're going down next to your baseboard? You got any...
I do have a tip for that, Ron. And one of the most important things I think about sponging is a lot of times you'll see a sponge job where they've gone in and gotten up to a corner like that, and they just won't get up to the corner, and it gives it away. And what I find is good to do is take a little paint and above your moldings, go in and just drag yourself some of that dark color in there and then sponge it out. And see how it just sort of melts it into the wall there? It really gives it a professional touch. And also, if you've got a room with moldings, two things. One, you want to sponge your wall first. And two, I find that unless you don't like the moldings and want to hide them, you want to go back and paint those moldings with a flat color.
Okay, now we're going to do what?
A glazing technique. Actually, two glazing techniques. We're going to do dragging and combing. You apply the paint the same way, but you use two different tools.
Okay, and what's the difference between a glaze and a paint?
Well, a glaze just implies a paint that's been thinned down. It's become more translucent. It lets the light move through it, and that's what creates the texture. Okay, so we're going to load up the wall with our glaze.
Do you always start at the top?
Well, yeah, I like to because I need a continuous stroke all the way down. So now that we've got our wet wall, we take our short, stiff brush, and I'm going to put it right here on the wall, and I'm going to use the bristles. I'm also going to press my fingers in, which gives it a little more texture, makes it a little more dramatic. Now, this is going to look subtle, but remember that this paint is going to dry darker. This paint technique is best as a team sport.
So let me team up with you, buddy.
Okay.
I'll do this part.
Here's the dragging tool. I'll lay some wet down for you. And press those fingers in there.
Wow. That is surprisingly easy.
Yeah. It's a good, quick technique. This is the combing tool. We're going to use the combing technique, which gives us a little more hard edge line. And we should mention that this is a technique that's best used on a very smooth wall, where we can use the sponging technique on a wall with some texture. This is best used on a wall that's pretty smooth.
Technique number 2. Dragging and combing.
Right.
All right, what do you got for 3? I can't wait.
Marbling. And now marble is most dramatic if it grows kind of in a certain direction. So I'm going to take and I'm going to smear some of my color on there, just like that. Now I'm going to take a white, contrasting, and I'm going to just toss it in there in the middle of those colors.
Right in between.
Right.
Same squiggly kind of
Same
things?
squiggly lines. And then you want to go in and you want to just take that brush and blend together.
Is this called stippling?
This is called stippling. Excellent. You get an A. All right, now the idea, this is also a wet blend technique, is not to blend it all into a third color, but to leave those different colors
Yeah.
a little separate, okay?
I think I kind of over-stippled here.
And you can change direction a little bit. And I'm going to take my big brush and gently do a little bit of spatter. There you go.
Now what is it? This sort of simulates what?
Just gives a little contrast. You know, marble, it's a rock. It has different elements in it. It just gives it a little more interest. This is a watered down gray. And then we can just take this brush and we can push it along there. See, I'm twirling it between my fingers,
yeah.
see? And I'm letting the line be thin and thick and sometimes broken. And again, marble grows in veins, kind of like a tree.
So the trick here, though, is to make it look random, I guess.
Yeah, it should be very random. You're looking good. And now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to soften some of these veins a little bit so they're not so hard edged. And then for a final touch, I'm going to take a little more white and do a little more spatter.
Your lines are a little more convincing than mine.
I've done it more often than you have.
Kevin's right. He has done more than I. But you know what? Even without any experience, you can still get beautiful and dramatic results using these techniques. If you'd like some more information on Kevin's techniques and formulas, be sure and check our website, ronhazelton.com.